Hello young learner teachers, and welcome to this video on teaching English to children. Today we're going to look at routines and procedures, what they are and why we use them in the pre-primary classroom. When many teachers begin working with this age group, they put a lot of time and energy into researching, planning and preparing activities for their students. But what do you think they very quickly realize once they are in the actual classroom? Well, it's impossible to make their wonderful lesson plan work because children don't listen to instructions, and they certainly don't ask for clarification when they don't understand. They don't sit still or focus for very long on any one activity. They run, they jump, they shout, they cry. Sometimes that all happens at the same time. They might be on task for a little while, playing beautifully, but then you try to transition to another activity and suddenly it's chaos. If any of this sounds familiar to you, you're not alone. But I want you to be reassured that this behavior is completely normal for the age group. Remember that they're only just beginning to learn about what it means to be at school. Because let's face it, school is a pretty strange place for people at first. I mean, never before have they had to share space with so many other children or follow so many new strange rules. As you'll quickly realize, the problem here is that the teacher has failed to plan routines, and planning routines and procedures in your lesson is just as important as the activities themselves. Here are some reasons why. Both research and experience have shown that routines are a highly effective classroom practice, and they're a common strategy in every good young learner classroom. They are an important part of mainstream education, and they're even more important in the language classroom. Routines really help children feel secure and sure of what is expected of them, even if they don't understand anything that you're saying in the beginning. And we know with pre-primary learners, this is often the case. Routines allow students to interpret the language from context, and this provides space for language growth. Now, many of you might be thinking, my students would get bored if the lesson was always the same. Don't make that mistake. Having lesson routines does not mean doing the same thing every day. It means following a specific order of classroom events. Let me give you an example. You might always start the class off with a greeting and a hello song, followed by a moment in the lesson where you see who's there that day. It's a typical lesson routine. Or it might mean establishing specific procedures, such as the steps to take when they're going outside to play. Or what do they do when they finish an activity early, or what do we do when it's circle time? Not only does this help keep the lesson flowing smoothly, but by explicitly teaching and consistently using the same routines and procedure with the students, we're also providing them with really clear cues of what behavior is expected of them. So let me give you another example here. They'll know that when it's time to sing, they can jump and be noisy and run around. But when we're doing independent reading time, perhaps that's more of a moment when we're quiet and sitting down so we can all concentrate. There are a couple of examples there for you. One of the other things I want to point out is the main difference between regular classroom and the foreign language classroom. You see, in almost every case, it's where the children are most exposed to the language in the classroom. So that makes regular and consistent exposure to vocabulary and structures that you use with your routine incredibly beneficial for their language development. So my best advice for the new pre-primary teacher is this: think carefully about routines and procedures. How are you going to use these, and how will you introduce these to the students? I know that in the beginning, they'll be very teacher-led, and they may not go as smoothly as you hope the first time, but don't give up. I promise you that with time and consistency, the students will become familiar with them and begin to gain more independence and agency. And the best ally in the teaching of routines and procedures is music. Children will recognize the melody and rhythm of a song or chant much faster and much more effectively than using words alone. And that is what we'll look at in the following videos. Follow the link in the description to get access to my ultimate playlist of songs and chants for your pre-primary lessons.